Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the mistakes that you should avoid when you go to university. Without further ado, let's get into it. So this video is actually split up into 4 categories. The first is academic, the second is health, the third is financial, and the fourth is social/lifestyle. So starting with academic, the first mistake that I personally made was studying something that I wasn't personally interested in. If you want to learn more about purpose and passion, how to find out what you want to study at university, feel free to check out my video on purpose and passion on my channel. That aside, when the going gets tough, keep going to classes. Again, if you need help with that, I have another video on my channel. Actually, it's on my Unfiltered now, and over there it's about a 5-minute video basically telling you to get your butt to class if you're struggling, if you've missed a lot and you need some motivation, you need that kick up your butt, if you need somebody that's in your corner, check out that video. Don't stop going to class. As you know, if you don't show up consistently, it's only going to pile up and it's only going to make you more stressed in the long run. So keep showing up regardless of your situation. Yes, there are of course some extreme situations where you can't show up, but a lot of the time it's just us letting things snowball and get out of hand, and university is already challenging enough as it is. Make sure you keep going so you don't make it more challenging for yourself. Another mistake I made was not asking for help sooner. I think sometimes we think that we're the only people going through things, or just that what we're dealing with is very rare, and because of that we isolate ourselves. More on this later. Or we are afraid to seek out help because we're ashamed of our situation. But you would be surprised how many people are dealing with what you're dealing with and are going through what you're going through. So get the help that you need. It's okay. Another thing is that the transition to university is difficult, so don't beat yourself up for finding it hard. Another mistake that I made was not going to the library often enough. When I was living at home and studying, it was quite good because I had the variety of sitting at my desk, sitting on my bed, sitting downstairs, sitting on the couch. But when I was at university and living in my accommodation, in my room, I only had my desk and my bed to go between. Yeah, of course there was the kitchen as well, but when I was there, I would often end up socializing, and I would really strongly advise you to go to the library to study. That way you have an allocated space. And if you're somebody that likes to socialize as well, I think this is really helpful because then you can keep your home or your social side of you at your accommodation if you're living out, and you can keep your academic self more at university, the building, if you will. In addition to this, being in the library can be a very inspiring environment because you're around other people that are working hard. There's sort of like this weird pressure, if you will, to not procrastinate. And it's not that we never do, it's just that it's a lot harder to get away with it when you have people around you that are actually working. It's also a very inspiring environment to be around, not just because of the people, but because you have all of this information around you, all of this knowledge. It piques your curiosity and it sort of gives you that feeling of being a little bit smarter. And I honestly think there's so much to be said for going out in public and doing your work, dressing up rather than wearing sweats and doing your work, because it puts you in a different mode. It puts you in more of a professional mode, if you will. So go to the library. Another thing was not making a Notion page sooner. So this is not sponsored whatsoever, but Notion has been hugely helpful for me and my not only academic life, but my work life and my personal life. I love to put everything on Notion. Now, you might have your own way of organizing things that I totally respect. I actually found Notion in early 2023 and I have absolutely no regrets. I have fallen in love with it. I love how I can just be as organized or as chaotic as I want on there. It really helped me to get organized with my modules and each of the deadlines within said modules. Not only could I put my deadlines on there, I could also keep a gratitude journal, notes to self, any goals, anything that I could think of could go on my Notion. And I honestly think that, especially if you're living in an accommodation or you have a limited amount of space, having a tool where you can just sort of have everything there is super helpful, because then you're not thinking, where did I put that piece of paper? You know, which drawer is it in? You just know, okay, I just need to look for this folder on this page and you've got it. Another thing for me was not staying in touch with my why, not creating my context. A lot of people, when they go into their degree, they're very attached to why they're doing their degree. They know why they're doing it. But for some of us, we need a little more context. I think that if you're studying something more vocational, it's really easy to remember your why. You can remember the bigger picture because you know that your career is directly attached to your degree. You know what you want to go into. But for other people like myself who are doing more broad degrees, going into it and feeling like you want to be engaged, it can be very difficult. Now, obviously, we don't want to just rely on motivation, we want to rely on discipline, but underneath that discipline, there should be a deeper drive to want to study that. Now, for some people, the desire to please their parents is enough. For others, the fear of not being hired is enough for them to push through a degree that they perhaps aren't intrinsically motivated by. But for a lot of us, that isn't enough. So create context, because when you create context around what you're studying, it allows you to feel more emotion around it, allowing you to attach yourself more to it. You're more likely to remember stuff, you're more likely to get creative with your degree, and as a result, perform better. So for you, this might look like going and shadowing or volunteering in departments or fields that are in relation with the career that you want to go into. Staying in touch with your why is so important, and I think that especially if you're going through a slump with your degree, you're feeling very demotivated, getting back in touch with your why can really help you to stay on track. Another thing was prioritization. What comes naturally to you isn't always what's best for you, and I used to have this perfectionistic tendency about me where I felt like I needed to learn in a certain way, but that certain way held me back more times than not. If you can prioritize, if you can give yourself that discipline, and honestly, discipline for a lot of, it's not something that just suddenly comes about, it's a muscle to be trained. If you can practice saying no to yourself, if you can practice saying, I get to have that social thing with my friends once I've done XYZ for my degree, you will be fine. Prioritization is so key. You're learning how to manage your time. University isn't just about learning content, it's also about learning skills that will allow you to flourish as an adult. And prioritization is one of those things. Do what isn't perhaps natural to you and win the day. You will thank yourself tomorrow. And actually, there was a time where I was going through a slump and I tried to basically come up with this grand plan of how I would change multiple things in my life. And one of my flatmates came into my room and I had all of this written out on this giant whiteboard, and they said, you're absolutely nuts. And they wrote a little note on there to motivate me, and at the bottom they said, win the day. And they were so right about that. You can't, if you just look at the whole of your degree like this giant mountain, it's going to feel very difficult at times to climb. And what you got to do is really break it down, focus on the day-to-day, and focus on being your best that day. Another mistake that I made academically was not taking the initiative to meet with my academic tutor more often. You need to make sure that you are equally as invested in your academic journey or your career as your academic tutor, if not more. It should never be the other way around. If your academic tutor is more invested than you, that's a sign that you are either not focusing enough at this current moment in time, or that you need to be doing something different with your life. And no shame, just figure out why and get to the bottom of it. Find a solution, because life is too short to stay stuck in situations that are inauthentic to you. And the truth is, some of us need more of an autocratic approach when it comes to achieving our goals. There is absolutely no shame in that. All of us require different methods and strategies to some extent in order for us to become the versions of ourselves that we wish to be. And I think my shame around needing someone to sit on my head a little bit more held me back a lot. I wish that I just said, you know what? I'm struggling, I need to have a weekly check-in. I need to have a bi-weekly check-in. I need to have an in-person meeting to see your face, to feel guilty for not doing work, you know? It's okay to need that extra help. Sometimes we need to be trained in discipline because we've either taken, I guess, results for granted, or things have just come easily to us. Whatever your situation may be, maybe you've been out of academic study for quite some time. Coming back into it, sometimes we need somebody who's an expert in discipline, an expert in that field, to help us and to coach us and to be our inspiration and to make us be a better version of ourselves. That comes with discomfort. That comes with honesty. That comes with being like, I am not naturally good at this, so I'm going to be honest about that and get the help, even if it's raw and ugly and this person maybe doesn't respect me so much. You know what? They probably will respect you more for your honesty, because then they can also help you more. You know, your honesty is what creates for a better journey. If you lie and say, no, I don't need your help, I don't need your help, I don't need your help, later down the line, when you actually did need that help all along, you're the one struggling. It's no good for anybody. Be honest about what you need now. And if what you need now is different to what you needed a month ago, which is different to what you needed 2 months prior to that, that is entirely okay. Just be honest. It is your journey. Make the most of it. That then takes us into health, the second section of this video. One big mistake that I made was not sleeping consistently. Oh my goodness. When I tell you my sleep schedule was upside down, it was horrendous. Not sleeping enough affects everything, okay? And I get it, it's university, whether it's due to a social life or due to academics, there will be times where you will be deprived of sleep, and that is just sort of a fact of life, unless you got it really easy. Good for you in that case. But if you can help it, have a somewhat regular and consistent sleep schedule. If you don't have those things, you're really going to mess with your hormones. This in turn is going to affect your mood, it's going to affect your appetite, it's going to affect your stress levels, and then it's also going to affect how much you are, I guess, motivated to achieve in your day, and not just regular things in your life, but also academically. And if you care about any of those things, then I really suggest that you get disciplined with sleep. It is so important. I think one of the reasons that I couldn't find myself prioritizing sleep enough was because I wasn't driven enough and I didn't care enough about the day-to-day. Now that situation is a story for another time, but when you are truly passionate or you care a little bit about your day-to-day, whether it's academics or personal or whatever it is that you're achieving, you will realize how valuable that is and how the quality of your execution is not something to be taken for granted. And when you recognize that sleep is imperative for that quality of execution, you will take the time to try and make it a priority. I'm still working on this now, but I will say definitely as I've gotten into gym and I really care about, getting my muscle and all of that and changing my life for the better, sleep has become a bigger priority for me. My story aside, work on your sleep. It is not that cool. You will get ugly, I'm sorry to say. If you care about your looks, not sleeping, it does catch up with you really, really soon. So please sleep. Okay, I'm gonna read off at this point because it's a lot of stuff. So another mistake I made was isolating myself, especially when things got hard. I let my social anxiety get the best of me, didn't do enough positive affirmations, and didn't believe in myself enough to go and spend the money on societies, and instead isolated myself after a breakup too. Disaster. In the beginning, it was like my safe haven. Soon it became like a prison, my room. A depression pit, I called it. I also wanted to say this. Just because you are having certain thoughts, it doesn't mean that you need to give in to them. It doesn't mean that you need to act out the reality or the persona of those thoughts. You still have a choice. You can act differently to what your thoughts telling you, and that is where your power lies. I had a difficult time, I'll be honest, when I was at university and living out. I had a few life changes, there was a lot that went on, and I think that I honestly did not have the lifestyle to support a happy self. Quite honestly, I was doing a degree that was inauthentic to me. I was being inauthentic to myself. I'd gone through a breakup and then isolated myself afterwards because I was completely afraid, honestly, and I gave in to the fear of everything, of socializing and putting myself out there, and I didn't know how to take on a challenge and become a better version of me. And there was so many negative thoughts, and that combined with bad weather, it really got me down. And I'm not gonna lie, there are days still where I am down, I am moody, I'm wondering what on earth I'm doing with my life. Now, I don't like to talk about my personal life too much, but I'll be honest, where I am in my life right now is very weird. It's very transition-y. It has been for like the past, coming up to a year now. It's just been very weird. I don't really know where I'm going, but I'm low-key figuring it out. I live with my parents, but I'm becoming more mature, more of an adult, and navigating that is a journey. And so I'm not saying that I don't have difficult days now, but I have definitely become better equipped at helping myself and seeing the wood for the trees and knowing when I'm BSing myself. And that has come from a whole lot of discipline, a whole lot of doing things when things are difficult, when I don't feel like it, when I'm scared. And that is how you truly get to know yourself, and you get to realize which thoughts are legit and which ones are not. And what was happening was I'd stayed in my comfort bubble for so long, and my relationship, my old romantic relationship, was a part of that comfort bubble. The moment that bubble broke, I did not know how to feel safe anymore. And so the quickest way for me to feel safe was just to say no to everything. And is seclude myself the right term? I just retreated from everything, and I had all of these thoughts about myself, negative thoughts about what I was not capable of, what I could not be, what other people were. More on that in a minute. And I gave in to them. I believed them. And the thing is, I didn't have to believe that. And what happens is, I talked about this concept of layering and creating a new identity in my You Don't Need to Hit Rock Bottom video. What you need to do, if you're having those negative thoughts, go and do the things that you think you can't do. I know, you want to scream right now. You're like, I literally can't, what, go and talk to that guy or girl or whoever, go to that society where I don't know anyone, like go into class where I haven't been for like 3 weeks, whatever. Like, whatever you think you can't do, like signing up for whatever, like, go and do that. Go and do that. I know you're gonna hate yourself for doing it. You're probably gonna hate me, but once you've done it, it's gonna be a teeny tiny part of you that loves you so much for it. The whole time when you're doing it, you could be having thoughts of, I don't belong here, this is not for me, everyone hates me, whatever your insecurities are, they will come up. And for me, when I started breaking down that barrier of insecurity within myself, if you will, I had all the thoughts come up. It is exposure therapy to the max. But the more you do it, the more you realize they're just thoughts, the more you realize that they don't have to be real unless you select for them to be real, and you can create a new reality, and you can create positive thoughts for yourself. You can create a better life for yourself beyond the nonsense and negativity that's existing in your head. I isolated myself so much, and I just stayed in this negative state of dwelling on what I wasn't, what I couldn't be. And because you stay in that dwelling, if you don't go out your comfort zone and dare to break out of that, that is your reality. That is all your reality will be. You will just exist at this level, and you'll look back and be like, why haven't I achieved anything? And it's because you've literally chosen to not leave your comfort zone, and you chose to stay hurting. A lot of us are happy, hurting, and healing at the same time, but the happy and healing does not come unless you get out of your comfort zone and say, I'm going to do this regardless of how I feel. I'm going to feel angry. I'm going to take myself there kicking and screaming on the inside. I'm going to hate everyone. I'm going to hate my guts, but I'm still going to put a smile on my face, and I'm going to pretend like I love it. And by the end of the day, I will love it. That is the attitude you need to have. You need to get like that with yourself, and you will hate your guts. You will be tired. You will wake up and you'll be like, what am I doing? This is disgusting. What's the point in anything? Like, I'm the meanest, not the meanest, but I'm not a happy person first thing in the morning. The first half an hour, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. But I'm so grateful to myself for waking up at that time for the rest of the day. And I'm a good person to people because of that. Because I know that thoughts are just thoughts, and the ones that are powerful are the ones that I choose to give power to. Another mistake that I made was not going outside every day. Even if it's raining, it makes such a difference to your mental health. Honestly, steps are so underrated for your health. I am actually doing a PT thing right now, and I have a step count that I need to achieve every single day, and it does make a difference. Honestly, my PT would not give me a step count target if it wasn't important, if it didn't make a difference. So get some steps in. Even if you just start with 100, that is better than nothing. Work your way up. You can do it. Put a podcast in, put some music in, even if it means you walk to the grocery store, like, just go for a little bit of a walk, okay? Even if it's raining. Living in the UK especially, you cannot be dependent upon the external, like the weather, to dictate your internal. I'm not saying it doesn't have any influence whatsoever. I mean, I literally just admitted to that like 5 minutes ago, but you also get to make the rules a little bit. Like, if you just base your mood off of what the weather is, I think that's honestly pathetic. Like, you can do better than that. And honestly, putting on a pair of wellies or boots and going out and splashing around in a couple of puddles isn't the worst thing in the world. You can connect with your inner child and have a great time. Go get a little sunlight. Go get a little fresh air. Or even if it's polluted air, just go in and get it, okay? Even the fakeness of saying hello to a stranger can make such a difference. Because we have these sort of like social niceties, like where you go into a store, maybe you bump into somebody by accident, you're going to say sorry, right? I hope you'd say sorry. Or you say thank you to the person that's like serving you and whatever. Smiling at somebody, whatever. These little social niceties, they can actually make us feel better. And I think for a while I felt like they wouldn't make any difference. But I've noticed, because I just started, well, not just started, but I have recently started a new job, and in my job it is like somewhat customer facing, and because of that I have to somewhat always be on and be happy, and not necessarily overly happy, but positive and warm and helpful. And I've noticed, regardless of the mood that I walk in with in the morning, I always leave feeling better about myself, because there is something to be said. Like, it's not the work that I'm truly passionate about, like, which is helping people on a deeper level. But when you help people, when you smile, when you ask someone, how are you? Even if it's just someone a surface level conversation, when you joke about something stupid, even if you make small talk, it can make such a difference to your mental health. It compounds, because the thing is, we are social animals. We are meant to exist with one another. Talking to people, even if it's something as casual as, look, I'm really sorry to let you know, but someone should, there's bird poop on your shoulder, whatever. Just having a little bit of a laugh, going up to a stranger. You could go up to like a 60-something-year-old woman who is very glamorous, seems very rich, and be like, I absolutely love your look, you are beautiful. Who knows? She might have dressed up specially that day because her husband recently passed away. You know what? I met somebody recently, actually, and she was just having a really difficult time, and her husband had just passed away, and she didn't know how to handle anything in her life. And I said, you got it, bit by bit. It's a journey. It's an opportunity for you to discover yourself, for you to discover what your life is like on your own. And obviously I told her I was so sorry and everything, and we had that moment. But, there is just so much. We never know the whole story. We don't know the whole picture, right? And you never know what someone needs. And when you are able to share a little smile or a laugh, or even the nonsense of just where, like, you just talk about some stupid random stuff, it can make such a difference to somebody's day. You have these elderly people that are isolated and alone, and sometimes the only person that they talk to is their carer, or their grandkids, or their local coffee shop, like their barista. You could literally be making somebody's day. And I never, ever want you, myself, or anyone to underestimate the power that they hold within them to make this world a little bit brighter. So go outside, say hi to somebody, interact with somebody. Even if you don't feel like it, ask the barista how they are, or tell them. There's a barista that I have at where I work, and at my workplace, and she made this latte for me. Now, I ordered a small, okay, this was a while back. It was a small almond hazelnut latte, and prior to my PT situation, okay, and she made it, and she made a medium for me. Now, I'm not really gonna complain. I didn't want a medium. I can never finish a medium, but I was like, fine, I'll take it. Thank you so much. And when I tell you, it was a beautiful coffee. I used to work as a barista for 5 years. Now, I'm not a coffee connoisseur, if that's the right term. I don't know coffee inside and out, but I can recognize a decently made, non-burnt coffee with the appropriate amount of syrup pumps and whatnot. And it was a beautiful coffee. And I don't get coffee like that often. I'm a black Americano girl. And I went and told her, I said, I used to work at a coffee shop for 5 years. That was a fantastic coffee. Thank you so much. I appreciate quality. And she was so touched by that. So compliment them. If they give you extra chocolate sprinkles, thank you so much. You're my favorite. It's a dumb thing. Just giving someone a little bit of attention. And I don't mean it in a narcissistic way or like in a manipulative way, but just flatter someone a little bit. Give them a compliment. Don't underestimate the power of going outside. Okay? And it really helps you to get out of your own head. You know how they say your environment is somewhat reflective of your inner state? It's sort of like a two-way relationship. Literally, if you just stay in one thing, like you're acting like a caged animal, get out. We're meant to roam. We're meant to explore. We're meant to expand. And you can't do that sat in your room. Yes, you can read books. Yes, you can educate yourself. Yes, you can talk to people. But the real exposure comes from stepping out of that front door and conversing with people, meeting people, just exposing yourself to humankind. It makes such a difference. And if anything, COVID and lockdown should be a testament to that. So wakey. After facing trauma, not going home. The thing is, I'm not going to go into the trauma. If you want, you can just go further back on my channel and you'll know what I'm talking about. I didn't want to stress my parents out, quite honestly. I felt like I needed to sort of carry on, be strong, pretend like everything was normal, which I kind of get, but at the same time, I couldn't maintain a normal. My world had been turned upside down. And if you are going through trauma, a type of trauma that is literally like you, it's not like, you know, sometimes there's trauma, but and it's like your capacity for work has just gone down. Like maybe you're at like 30%, 20%, but you've got your friends and family, which is enough to sort of keep you afloat, or your friends around you and your clubs or whatever, your gym or whatever, to sort of keep you afloat. If you have a type of trauma that you're not even, like, you're just in shock, and it just, like, literally flips your world, not literally, but, like, flips your world upside down. That type of trauma, where you feel like you're, like, barely breathing and moving through the day, don't try to just be normal. Carry on as normal, because what's normal at this point? I wish that I had just gone home, put in extenuating circumstances, and delayed my exams, and taken the time to heal and recover. Like, actually, why do I always cry in my videos? Oh, get help sooner. Really, I shouldn't have tried to be an island at a time where I needed the most support, even if it meant not speaking, but just having people who love me around me. I would spend days not showering, not eating properly, struggling with my sleep. Man, that time is hard to think about. I wrote this up like a whole year ago, like the mistakes that I wouldn't make again. So I haven't read this in like a year. Oh girl, oh girl. Struggling with my sleep, I couldn't manage the stress of it, so I should have put myself in an environment where I didn't have to handle it alone. I should have given myself that time to recover, and I didn't. And I don't want to say it ruined everything, definitely not. I'm still standing, I'm still alive, I'm a better version of me now. My goodness, I would rather be this version of me with all my losses and failures and messes, because I like this version of me, and I like who I'm becoming and working hard to be. But I definitely could have avoided a lot of unnecessary pain and hassle and chaos if I just put a pause, taken ownership of where I was. I mean, I couldn't even think straight, to be honest. So I'm here to tell you, if you're in a situation where you have been traumatized, where there is something that has literally just knocked the wind out of your lungs, it's okay to piss a few people off, quite honestly, and be like, I'm out right now. I'm out. You want a better version of me? You want a version of me that functions? Don't call on me for a month, please. You know, and not all of us can afford to do this, obviously. But if you are in a position where you can afford to not check out, but more specifically to check in with yourself and spend that time with yourself and around people that can pour into you and love you, then do that. Because it's no good I have so much, the reason I get emotional is because I have so much, I feel so much for her, for that version of me. And if anyone knows what that's like, you know, you don't want to abandon yourself in a time like that, you know, and I think I was just doing the best I could. But if you're in a situation like that, where you don't know how to handle things, you're so overwhelmed, like, every day, and that overwhelm is coming out in ways that are just, like, chaotic, and you don't know how to handle anything, even basic things, just go home. If your home is a safe space, like, your parents don't have to be perfect people, your guardians, your hometown, your siblings don't have to be perfect people, but sometimes just the normalcy of being in the environment in which you grew up in can be something of a safe haven, and I strongly urge you to do that if you can, or just to get some sort of, like, oh my god, my top is getting stained, to get some sort of thing where you can just check out a little bit, you know, if you can or just have like a weekend or a week away if you can. Take care of your things. Like, it's okay. Look at this method of drying tears, because I don't want to get tissue and then take all my makeup off. Like, I'm living for the glow. You know, I've got this thing. I mean, I've had it for years now. I don't know where it is. Oh wait, I'll find it. Look, I'll show you. Whilst we're here, we should do a fit check, by the way. You know when you have makeup for like way too long? That's me. Shimmered Us by Disney, but it's purple.
And like, this isn't that. This is my usual urban naked. Not naked, but yeah, then I've got a little bit of the purple sheen. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, that's besides the point. I'm literally sweating. That's fun. Okay, so anyway, if you can check out for a bit, please do that. Just do that. You'll thank yourself later. Strong people aren't people without emotions. Strong people are people that are aware of their emotions, that they are people that feel their emotions and allow themselves to be and have the courage to be and to do what they need to do in order to help themselves and the people around them. It takes courage to take rest at times when you feel like you can't afford to. It takes courage to confront what you're feeling and own it, despite what people might say. And when I'm saying all this, I'm not saying just everyone chill out, don't do work, and take a month off of university and go on holiday. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in a case of trauma, in a case of a difficult time, get the help you need. Be proactive, because you need support right now, and no one can understand your needs as well as you can, quite honestly, in a time like this. If you need a time out, if you need to go home, recharge, hit pause and be like, what on earth was that? Go and do that. It doesn't make you a bad person. If people want to judge, let them judge. This is your journey. Anyway, that over. This is tied into it, but not going to the GP when having a hard time. If, for example, you ever have extenuating circumstances, I've learned this from experience, the GP has to know if it's about your mental or physical health. I made the mistake of solely relying on a therapist, and the thing is, or my other forms of mental health support, and the thing is, when you do that, it, unfortunately, to a lot of universities, I believe, it lacks a level of credibility. They need to hear it from a GP. And there were many times I got lucky with the university accepting the notes from my therapist. But if you're dealing with anything mentally, even if you're like, I don't get how a GP would help me, because that was me, quite honestly. Not all the time, but some GPs, I'd be like, if I'm seeing a new GP every month, every 2 months about my mental health, like, how does that help? Like, they don't specialize in it, and I was just, but all you need to do, just keep the GP in the loop, because then at least if push comes to shove and you need an extenuating circumstance form approved from your university, then at least they can say, okay, well, the GP has seen this person, the GP can attest to the fact that this student has been there and said XYZ. Now, again, I'm not telling you to make up lies. I'm just saying that if you're going through something mentally, physically, talk to the GP. If the GP is aware, then that's going to help you later on if you need to get an extenuating circumstance. Why do I keep saying circumstances form? This takes us into chapter 3, or part 3 of this video, which is financial. A huge mistake that I made was not living way below my means. The thing is, I, at this point, had been making my own money for about 5 years, roughly. I mean, actually, yeah, about 5 years, 5-6 years. And this money that I made, I spent it on whatever I wanted. I was a kid, I was a teenager. I wasn't thinking about responsibilities, bills, basics, essentials. So if I wanted to go and buy a new eyeshadow palette, I would go and buy a new eyeshadow palette. Whatever I wanted. If I wanted to go on a trip, I would just work a little bit more at my part-time job and save up for that trip. When I moved out, it did not occur to me that I would have to take care of my essentials. When I mean essentials, I don't just mean a laundry detergent purchase every month and a half. I mean hand soap. I mean toilet roll. I mean onions. I'm talking like tomato puree. Body wash I already did. But like your basics, toothpaste, the things that you don't really think about, your day-to-day basics, you're going to be responsible for that. The good thing about these things is after some time, I realized there was a rhythm as to how often I roughly needed to replace things. So definitely keep that in mind. I know this sounds really low-key gross, but I'm going to give you a little tip for when you're crying. Because I cried a lot. I was having a hard time, like I said. I used to use toilet roll to clean my face. Just go to the sink. I know it's not ideal, but use the sink. I know it's gross, but if you have to save money, blow your nose, right? And rinse it in the sink because it will save you toilet roll, buddy. It helps. It helps. You're welcome. Another thing, hand soap. I used to, rather than replacing the whole thing, get one of those refillable things you can get at like Sainsbury's or whatever, and have your hand soap container, and then you can just fill it up. That's a lot cheaper than buying a new hand soap every single time. But yeah, you kind of get an idea for how often things need to be replenished. So in accordance with that, make a budget. I know. Make a budget, because if you don't know what's going out and you don't know what's going into your bank account, you are setting yourself up for disaster. Okay? Attached to this, oh my days, one of the biggest reasons that I made so many of these mistakes when it came to sleep and food was because at home, you know, I felt like, oh my god, I'm still a kid, I'm a kid, I want to get out, I want to adult, I want to be free, right? I'm gonna get to this at the end, but freedom is not always all it's made out to be. I definitely went a little bit nuts. I would stay up till cuckoo o'clock. I would eat whatever I wanted. I ordered in. It was great until it wasn't. Until I couldn't fit in my clothes anymore. I was losing money, but I was gaining all the weight, and all of a sudden, the things that used to feel like treats to me were almost bland. I was looking for the next thing, and so I just kept eating more. When I tell you, my diets became disastrous because after there was this initial indulgence. I'm talking eating a whole tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. That's not something I would even do now, quite honestly. I've changed a lot. This is even going back to prior to this PT thing that I'm doing now. I can't do that anymore. There was an indulgent phase, and then throwing the trauma that occurred on top of that, oh, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. Don't order in. Seriously, I get it. There's gonna be some times where you've gone on a night out, you don't want to be thinking about it, you know, you're in a city, you grew up in a tiny little village or whatever, there's a Deliveroo or Uber Eats, whatever, you know, everyone else is doing it, it's fun, it's easy, ooh yeah, cool, you never got to eat that growing up or whatever, yes, there's an excitement to it, yes, there's a privilege to it, what, you smoke a little bit, you want to, you know, indulge, yeah, I get it, but that should not be your normal. That's not normal. Don't make it your normal. Because if you make that your normal, you're gonna not only gain a lot of weight, okay, gaining weight, yes, it's a vanity thing, but it also ultimately becomes a health thing. I mean, it also depends on your body. Some people can't gain weight. I get that, but still, you're ruining your health. You're making yourself broke. It's not good. It's not good. That shouldn't be normal. Eating out all the time. And when I say eating out, I don't mean, you know, a healthy food place, maybe a salad bar or something. I mean delivery. You know what I mean. That's not good. That is not good. It costs so much, and I didn't realize how much it was costing until I became broke. And I don't mean because, oh my god, I'm broke, where did all my money go? Oh yeah, because of that £20 delivery. It wasn't just that. It was then the fact that I was broke and I couldn't ask my parents for money. I mean, I could, but I felt so ashamed having to turn around and ask my parents for money to get through the last month or so of that term. So embarrassing. But anyway, not just that, but because of how little I had to figure out a way to feed myself. I went from this obsessive, indulgent lifestyle to now being okay, I'm gonna live off of dal chawal, which is lentils and rice. You know, it's a lifestyle deflation, inflation to deflation. It was crazy. But when you go from spending everything to literally having £5 to get you through the week, when I tell you I was taking stuff from home, desperately, out of desperation, I was taking stuff from home to my accommodation because I was that broke. When you have £5 to get you through the week, you start to get creative. Okay, you get this for a reason too. You get a little nuts, but you get creative, right? And you realize how cheap a meal can be. That dish that you're purchasing, that one-off dish, that's 15, 20, quid or whatever with delivery, right? That's going to fill you up for what, 3-4 hours. Yes, maybe it gets some of your nutritional needs, but a lot of it, no, it's bad for you. Like, let's be real. Like, okay, bad as in physically bad for you. I know some people are sensitive to bad good. I don't mean bad as in never have it. Again, like I said, I want you to have a good time. Like, it's not meant to be a normal. That's what I'm trying to say. So you have that 20 pounds there. That same 20 pounds, if you went to the grocery store and say it's like some chicken situation, I don't know, right? I don't know. But you go and you buy the chicken, you go and buy the peppers, you go and buy, right, and you have the spices. Spices are super cheap and they last so long. And they're like barely any calories if you care about that. That same dish you could make and it would last you for about 5-6 meals. And the best part is you can freeze half of them. Freeze half of them and defrost them for a later time. And you would have meal prepped. Cooking was actually something that intimidated me because it's not something I did a whole lot of before I moved out. But again, when I was broke, I had to learn the skill of it. And it's a skill. And actually, it's a lot less intimidating than you think. I used to feel intimidated by cooking and I used to feel stressed out by it because whenever I saw my parents cook, the food would be gone in like a day. I like to bake because I knew, well, first of all, I just like sweet stuff. And second of all, it was fun and creative for me. And third of all, it would last. It would last. It was my little masterpiece that would last in the household. Whereas when things were cooked in my household, they would be finished in like a day or two. And I had this sort of like fear and discomfort, if you will, around cooking because I was like, oh, I don't want to. But because you're one person that's consuming it, what I didn't realize was at home, there's 4 of us. And my dad, he'll usually go for a second help make up food, right? So with that, obviously the food's going to be gone in like 2 days. When you're living out, it's just you. The portion sizes that you make, the amount, everything, it's going to be less. It's going to last you a lot longer. And it's fun. You can just put your music in. I get it, not everyone likes it, but you can cook with your friends. You can cook with your flatmates. You can make it into a thing. Listen to a podcast. You can have a meal prep day. Get it all cute. Get it aesthetic. Find a recipe on Instagram. Cooking can actually be really cute and really fun. And it took me a while to learn that and get into it. But then when you realize also how satisfying the flavors are as well, it hits different. There are so many additives in these ordered things that you purchase. Cooking for yourself really, really hits different. You just feel like you're taking care of yourself on another level. I know that my sister, I'm pretty sure it's my sister, or I can't remember. Is it my sister? I feel like someone I spoke to recently. Never mind. Whoever I spoke to recently, they like to cook and share. Yeah, it was my sister. My sister and her uni friends, they like to cook and share food with each other. I did a little bit of that when I lived out, and it is so nice. It's so fun. Make it into a little bit of a social experience too. And like I said, you get to meal prep this way as well, which you don't get to do when you spend that 20 or so pounds on delivery. Lastly, with regard to finance, it is not a lack mindset to know what is going on with your finances. An abundance mindset is treating your money with health and a level of balance, being aware of what it is that you're doing. I was in such a state of lack because really, like I've already expressed this, I went from being in my home where I felt like I was lacking in the freedom of what I could do and having this craving and satiating that craving and and I moved out and I'm like, oh, I can eat whatever I want whenever I want. Ooh, pizza 3 times a week, profiteroles that day, trifle the next day, tiramisu that day, Ben & Jerry's. Oh, I went insane. It was coming from a state of lack. And you might think a lot of like the misconception is, oh, but I'm spending from a place of I have so much. If you had so much, why are you like trying to eat everything? Why are you eating everything as if it's your only opportunity to consume something indulgent? Because if you knew you could have indulgence tomorrow, why would you eat the whole tub today? It's self-control isn't so scary when you know that there's gonna be more of that tomorrow. Yes, it sucks a little bit, but you're like, there's plenty of indulgence to go around. I was in this thing of, I need to eat this whole tub today, and then tomorrow I can get a new tub, it's all good. And then the day after that I can get a new thing, and then it keeps going on. There's never an end to it.
Okay, if it's not the profiteroles, then it's the trifle. If it's not the trifle, then it's a chocolate cake. If it's not the chocolate cake, then it's something else. And it would just go on and on and on. That is lack. That is lack, because you never can get enough. Abundance is being like, I have this right now. And in my 3D, it's showing up as this. This is more LOA, but whilst we're here, like, this is kind of just to help, I guess, if it helps you. It's looking at the 3D and being like, in the 3D, it can be measured as not a lot. So I'm going to work with it beautifully, because that is my tool, that is my skill. I'm going to treat it with health and treat it with love, because one day this is going to show me in my 3D something that is beautiful, something that is worth really loving, you know? And what's not to love about the little that I have, right? And then when you look at it like that, it's not a little anymore. But if you're constantly not looking at it, it implies that there's a level of fear associated with it. And you're in this rush. Lack feels like rush. You're rushing to get to something, to an experience. You're rushing to have that love in your life. You're rushing to have that indulgence in your life. You're rushing for this, rushing for that, rushing for instant results. Abundance is realizing that there is enough for today, and there is more than enough for tomorrow, and there is more than enough for the day after that, and so on and so forth, and for my neighbors and their neighbors, right? Neighbors, friends, family. That's abundance. And it took me losing so much to wake up to that, and a whole load of discipline and whatnot. So I'm sharing that with you. I hope that if you're someone that is passionate about LOA, about changing their life, about changing their financial status, about changing their mindset, and I guess their level of fulfillment and enjoyment in their day-to-day life, that this helps you. Let me know what you think. Last but not least, lifestyle and social. I personally didn't struggle with this one too much, but I would strongly advise you to do a little bit of cleaning here and there, than to do one big clean once a week. Now, first of all, if you're not cleaning at all, I don't want to know you, you disgusting, you disgusting little pig. Who's messaging me? Sorry, got a little message. Right. Clean, if you're not cleaning, you disgusting little thing. Ew. Clean. Look, I'm gonna judge you. I'm gonna judge you. No, just, okay. Clean, guys, it's not that hard. Okay? Now, for my lovely people that are cleaning, I would advise you to do it every couple of days. Just a little bit. What you want to have in mind with cleaning and cleanliness is maintenance. I would put pressure on myself. Not pressure per se. Vacuuming, I was pretty good. I do that every 2-3 days, because in my accommodation, the way that it was an apartment, all one level. And so my flip-flops, like my indoor shoes, would be the same, like, be worn in the same space as my outdoor shoes. So it would just get very, like, dirty. So I like to vacuum frequently. And also I'd like brush my hair, and you know how it is, like sheds and all that. But with the rest, I kind of let it build up, and I would find a little bit of satisfaction, like, oh yay, I get to go from like really dirty to really clean. Like, I don't know, because I used to love watching those like cleaning videos when I was a kid. There used to be these two women on TV in the UK, like one of them had, I think, pink gloves, the other one had yellow gloves. If you know what the show is, please tell me, because I do not remember for the life of me. But don't do that, because if you fall sick, and I actually say this a lot, like, to myself. Okay, let me just say what I was saying, and then I'll tell you what I say to myself. If you fall sick, that's going to pile up, and you're not going to be able to do it, and it's going to be even more of a mess, and you're going to be even more stressed out. And when you're sick as well, you're going to not only fall behind on your cleaning, but you're going to fall behind on the other things in your life. The more important things too, which is your degree, right? So stay on top of it as a maintenance, is what you want to think. Distribute it evenly. Today you're going to clean the shower. Tomorrow you're going to clean the toilet. The day after that you're going to clean the sink. Got it? And then that way it's also somewhat relatively clean, and if you have anyone around, it's not so like, oh god, don't go in there, that's so embarrassing, you know? At least it's just your toilet that's dirty, or something like that, you know? I mean, please, also try not to keep your toilet too dirty. Yeah. Anyway, spread your chores out. And then that way it's also just like a 15-minute burst every single day of a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of extra, you know? And that will really help you. What I say to myself, because I'm a working woman now, is, you know, there are so many days where I am like, I'm not in the mood. I am not in the mood, and I could very easily call sick. And I haven't done this, obviously, just to be very clear, but one of the things I say is, yeah, okay, sure, call sick, fine. But there will be a day where you are actually sick, and on that day you won't be able to do anything. And you're gonna have to call sick. And if you have called sick all these other days we didn't feel like it, that's going to bite you in the bum, you know? And so on the days I don't feel like it, I show up anyway, as much as I can, because I know that there's going to be a future version of me potentially that is depending on this version of me to show up. You see? So don't let it all pile up. Don't wait for that Sunday to just get everything done. I get it. Like, some of us, we like to have that rhythm. Yes, if you want to do your meal prep on that day, like, I get it. But try not to put all of your things on one day. Maintenance. Remembering this is key to building authentic relationships with people. Meeting people and making friends in environments where alcohol is involved can be very exciting at first, but it doesn't always lead to genuine, authentic connection. And I don't want to say alcohol is bad and that you can't make friends that way. Of course you can. Of course you can. You can, bump into people. I bumped into a girl actually, and this is going back a couple of years. We're now more acquaintances and everything, but it was just a girl code thing. Like, she was on, not even just a girl code, but like, she was on her own and her friends had ditched her, and I think some guys had bought her some drinks as well, so she was like wasted and by herself. And I think this guy was getting a little too comfortable with her, and then she was just being thrown about the dance floor, and like, it was concerning. And I saw her and I invited her to join me and my friend. And like, I'm by the way, when I'm saying this, I'm not just saying this to be like, I'm such a hero. Like, oh yeah, okay, a little bit. But I'm trying to share the story and also hopefully impress upon you the importance of us taking care of each other, girls. Like, if you're out, we look out for each other, okay? Now that aside, and then we ended up exchanging numbers, and like, I want to make sure that she got home safe and all of that, and we ended up going out later at a later date together, and we had a really good time, and it was very cute. Anyway, so it's not that you can't make connections, it's not that you can't make friends, it's not that you can't have a good time, but if you're looking for genuine friendship, that in itself cannot be built in an environment with alcohol. Alcohol is not friendship. Alcohol can create the illusion of friendship, it can be a facilitator for friendship, but alcohol in itself is not a substitute for genuine, authentic connection. And if you want genuine, authentic connection, you need to go in environments that are authentic to you, that facilitate connection, not just superficial bonding and ha hee hee hoo hoo. Okay? So, to not feel lonely, you don't go to a club. I tried that, and there's a story about that on my channel. It's the zoom out, your progress is still linear because of the purity of your intention. That video, it's one from a while back. Train wreck. Anyway, connection, genuine human authenticity, you're not going to find in a club. Genuine human authenticity is like somewhat the opposite of what you'll find. You'll find rawness, you'll find chaos, you'll find the worst of humankind at times. But to connect with people, alcohol is this sort of lens, if you will, for us to maybe perform through or whatever. It's not the real, okay, I don't want to say it's not the real us. I think at times, yeah, it can be, but connection and authenticity comes from being grounded within oneself. Alcohol is the opposite of that. It comes from, I want to say alcohol, I mean alcohol to like somewhat extreme levels. I don't mean just like you have a glass of wine in Europe with your meal. Although, sometimes that does hit people to a certain level. You need to be grounded in yourself. You need to be in touch with what makes you you, which we don't have the time for when we're out partying. And you need to be present. You need to be able to listen. You need to be able to respond, therefore, as a result of that listening. All of the things that would allow for connection, genuine connection, be in touch with your humanity, which requires a level of seriousness, not entire seriousness, but a level of seriousness and understanding of humanity and what makes us humans and what makes us complex beings. You can't process that when you're off your you know what I mean? I think you get my point. If you're looking for genuine friendship, don't start in the club. Okay? If you're looking to not be I'm not going to say not be alone, but if you're looking to not feel lonely anymore, the club is not the place to go for that. Okay? You want to go to societies that are interesting to you. Another big thing was waiting. Oh my god. Waiting for other people to give me approval before I gave myself a sense of approval.
I lacked a lot of confidence going into university, which I think is natural, but as a result of that, I looked to a lot of second years or final years or whatever, people that were more advanced in the uni game, to sort of give me their stamp of approval, as if to say that, okay, I'm somewhat headed in the right direction and that I'm cool and that my personality is enough for this environment. But the truth is about uni at this point, everybody's so focused on themselves that they really couldn't care less about how you do you and the way that you choose to live your life. They might laugh. I mean, I still remember the story of this guy who apparently would only like cook like a big piece of meat and just eat that like once a day. That's all he ever ate. He'd never leave his room for anything else. So you know, but you know, that was a story that was shared and laughed about and then left. Like, beyond that, no one really cares how you do you. You gotta live the lifestyle that you wish to live, first and foremost. So for some people, like I said, that it could be with the party lifestyle. Other people, that's like the extreme opposite of what they want from university. Either way, you are completely entitled to the experience that you desire. Just be safe in either situation and squeeze everything you can out of it. Be happy, enjoy the process as much as you can. I honestly would have benefited from more main character energy. I spent so much time being insecure, and that honestly, it comes from other places. But this is your journey. This is you're there for you. You're not there to please other people. These are the people, you know, you're sat in a classroom with people. If you can get along with them, if you can be friends with them, great. But you're not going to die without that. You're not going to not enjoy your degree without that. Yes, okay, it might, you know, make it a little bit more of a, not the best experience ever, but you don't need other people to give you a stamp of approval for your existence there and the way in which you thrive. That's up to you. It's your journey, like I said. So I really, you know, because I was insecure, but it was the first time I was moving away from home, like I said, so at this time as well in my life, I was not comfortable on how to be on my own and stand on my own 2 feet. I was not secure in that whatsoever. And especially after my breakup, I was just like, where do I go from here? I just didn't know how to be, quite honestly. And I was really just looking for other people to make me feel like I was cool. You can just do that for yourself. You know, get up at a particular time every day, pretty much every day. Have a routine. Don't be like, oh, I don't need a fancy skincare. You don't need a fancy skincare routine, but brush your teeth. Do it in the same order. Have 3 breakfasts that you rotate between. Don't eat cookies for breakfast. Like, no. Maybe once, maybe after a night out if you feel like it, but no. Every day, what's wrong with you? Don't do that. Pick between 3 different breakfasts. Things that are low-key, high-key, healthy for you. They don't spike your blood sugar like crazy. Okay, now what are you gonna do? You're gonna get dressed. You're going to dress yourself to a level where you would feel proud presenting yourself in society. If a stranger recognizes you, not a stranger, but someone recognized you in the street, you're not going to feel like, oh my god, I wish you hadn't seen me because I look so hideous. I haven't washed my hair in 7 days. You know, like, present yourself. It doesn't mean you have to wear makeup. Like, whatever level feels presentable to you, do that. Is your grocery shopping done? Have you made a list for it? Make a list for it. Have you prepared your meals for the week in advance? You should. If you can't eat it by a certain day, great, fine, no problem. Put it in the freezer. Do you know what exams are coming up? Do you know what deadlines are coming up? You don't have to be at 10 or 100% all the time. That's not what I'm trying to say. But you can take it upon yourself to be responsible for your life. And with that responsibility comes a power where you don't feel the need to be like, oh, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I good? Because you spend every waking moment proving to yourself that you are. You're like, I don't need someone to pat me on the, I mean, it would be nice to have someone pat me on the back, but my very existence is a pat on the back because I reap the rewards of who I'm being regularly. Yeah. I know to some extent I'm oversimplifying it, but I really think that I would have just benefited from a little bit more structure in my day. And it's very easy to get caught up with this party and that thing and this social thing and that deadline that I stayed up till 6 a.m. for, and now my whole sleep schedule is messed up. Like, fix it. Fix it. Stop pulling your hair. I can't fix it. Look, if it means you stay up for over 24 hours in order to fix it, fix it. It will be worth it. that you can pat yourself on the back. Have more pat yourself on the back, more proud moments with yourself, and you won't feel the need to go to every Tom, Dick, and Harry to approve of you. Oh, I should have joined more societies. Now this, of course, it really does depend on the type of person you are, and again, the type of experience you're looking for from university, but I think I definitely did not join enough societies. I did join, well, I didn't join the K-pop society, but I was in a K-pop competition. I'm very proud of that, and that did actually take up a lot of my time. I couldn't have done more, but in the first term especially, I really wish that I'd signed up to more societies. I think it would have benefited me socially, confidence-wise, being around other people. In general, it would have just made me feel better about myself. I would spend less time living in my head and then spiraling after my breakup as well, and then with the trauma that happened later down the line, I really think that I would have just benefited from knowing people, having somebody to check up on me, saying hi to somebody, you know, even if it's just talking about a group project in a particular module, it would have benefited me to have known people, to have gotten out there more. And, you know, I honestly feel there's no benefit in isolating yourself. If you're happy just knowing your course mates, great. But if you're somebody where deep down you know that you want to have a few friends, you want to know a few people outside of your course, then make the effort to do that. Get out of your comfort zone. When I say get out of your comfort zone, go to the thing that scares you and do it. And then do it again. And fail whilst doing it. And then do it again. Especially after you've failed. Especially after you fumbled it. Especially after you feel like you've embarrassed yourself and everyone's going to look at you and hate you and think that you're the worst person in the world or whatever. Especially then. Especially then. Show up and show up again. Do it until you're practically numb to the discomfort of it. Got it? Thank you. Last minute academic tips for you guys. Now, I'll be honest, there are probably better people out there to listen to regarding academic tips, but I'm just going to share with you a couple of things that I picked up. Take from it what you will. Okay, so the first tip is, it might take a little bit more time, but if your lectures have recordings, listen to the recordings. Unless, of course, your lecturer is one of those that's not very helpful and doesn't read anything, say anything beyond what's on the PowerPoint, then in that case, leave it. But it is not useless to listen to the voice recording as well, or the full recording with the speech or whatever of the lecture, because there are gaps there that will be filled that you will spend trying to fill later on if you just skim through the PowerPoint not understanding anything. Okay, so if you can listen to the lecture as well. The second thing, when you're studying, oh my gosh, I found during exam season this helped me so much, but setting up one tab with a countdown timer on Google, not on your phone. Get your phone out of the situation. I used to literally throw my phone on my bed and sit on the other side of the room, or literally just put my phone outside of the room. Like, I would just, ew, get out of my sight, you know, and then put a countdown on my computer, like literally off of Google, something boring and bland and disgusting, and you know, not like disgusting, but just like, you know, and I'd leave it there like an hour, and I would work backwards, and I would give myself these sort of like small bursts of work, and I wouldn't look at it like, oh, I have 7 hours of work. No, you get 45 minutes of work. You get 20 minutes of work. And I've said this in my discipline video, but a lot of the time, discipline is just about getting the ball rolling. You can get started with getting started, making that initial move to like sit down over the textbook, get your brain fried a little bit. You know, that is the hardest part. If you can do that, from there it's just momentum. A lot of the time it is just momentum. So set that timer up for 10, 15 minutes. You'll find at the 15-minute mark, because you're just at the beginning, you're just like, oh, you know, 5 minutes is too small. Don't do that. You'll be like, oh, yay, I can take a little break. No, give yourself a good 10, 15 minutes. By that time, once you hit that marker, you're going to feel a lot more inclined to just be like, okay, yeah, cool, I can carry on. You know, even if you don't 100% feel like it, you're far more likely at that point in time to be like, I am inclined a little bit more to carry on with my work. So set a countdown timer on Google, on your screen on which you are working, and it'll be a lot more helpful for you. Remember this. If you are in a space of feeling like, you know, oh, maybe I won't work today, let me just stop you right there. It is better to be bored and work now than to be stressed out, pulling your hair out later and trying to work then. You know what crunch time studying feels like. It feels like you are stressed and angry and doubting yourself, and you're swinging between, I can't do this, I'm gonna fail everything, there's no point in anything, what am I doing here, imposter syndrome, like my mental health is the worst in the whole world, to, no, I totally got this, I'll be fine, woo, yay, let's just even go for a coffee and a walk. I can handle it. It's fine. You know, and you're constantly swinging between the two, or some weird mix up or something else, you know, that's not cute. It is better to sit down and do the 6 boring hours now than the 15 stressful hours later because you slacked. We all know that. We all know that. I just need to remind you of that. Work, you know, university work, yeah, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be challenging at times, absolutely. But and because of that, it's going to feel stressful at times. What do you think you're doing by not doing it? Like, if you don't do it, you're going to be in a situation where not only you have the difficulty of the content, but you have the difficulty of the time crunch and the added pressure of performance. Does that make sense? At least if you muck it up a little, you have a tutor or a lecturer to be like, okay, well, that's where you went wrong. This is how we can fix it. And you've got this much time to probably get it down before the, you know. Now, I know life isn't perfect, and I've talked about this in that, like, how to go to university when you've missed it or something video on Mahika Unlimited. Life happens. But like I said, on the days where you just, your best excuse is, I don't feel like it, I'm upset, I went through it this way, you know, you have all the excuses in the world. If that is the best you can come up with, on those days you show up the best. On those days especially, you show up the best. We don't need to make ourselves more stressed later on. In regard to learning, what's really key is attempting questions. Questions challenge your level of understanding. It is very easy to read things, but just because you're reading them, it doesn't mean you're retaining them. Okay, you need to quiz your brain. You want to be at a level of understanding where if someone asks you a question, you can answer it, and answer it with a level of competency. Not fumbling and, oh, well, this is maybe, and then just responding with a word that seems to be relevant. No, it needs to be, you know, when there's recollection to the point of, if maybe, I had this today. Someone told me where they were from, and because it was a word that I'd heard of the place, but I didn't know, like, it was just something I'd heard of once. And then someone else asked me, oh, where is this person from? And I said, you know what, you just have to, like, list them, and if I heard it, I would recognize it. Does that make sense? Like, there's a type of recollection where you are unfamiliar with a concept or something, a subject, and people can list it. It's like, you know what was it called? Comprehension in English in primary school, where it would be like an MCQ, multiple choice question, and it would have it in front of you. What is the correct answer? Like, it's very easy to look at it and be like, yeah, that looks familiar. I'm a circle like C or whatever, you know? That is different to then being like, what is the correct answer, and a blank space. And you need to go through and sift through your memory box or memory bank. You want to be at the latter. You want to be at the level of competency where you're not feeling the need to, oh, if I could just circle, you know, an MCQ. No, you need to know the answer. You need to understand the answer. So get yourself to that level of competency, and that comes through answering questions. Okay, not through like having an MCQ thrown at you. I'm not saying you can't learn through MCQ. I learned a lot. My driving theory, oh my god, yeah. Spanish back in the day, yeah. MCQ, great. But a lot of subjects, a lot of content at university is not MCQ. Could you imagine? Oh, it makes things so much easier. Anyway, that aside, use the questions. Do practice questions, if anything, especially if you're in a time crunch. Practice questions. Oh my gosh, they will save you. And I actually developed this tactic in terms of revision. Use a textbook to answer. Now, obviously, it is, I guess, subject dependent. I only studied like one thing really, so it's hard. I don't really know what other degree subjects are like, but for me, in my subjects, I had a lot of essays. And one thing that definitely helped me was taking the exam question, looking at the keywords, going into the index of the relevant textbook, and finding the relevant pages in accordance with that question, and reading up on just those subjects, and then coming up with the best answer I could and creating an answer for that in accordance with that. Because that way you get straight to it. That way you learn with context, you learn with emotion, you learn with context basically, and it helps it to stick more. So if you're trying to get some, not just last minute revision done, but you're trying to understand the nuances of a subject, what they might ask you, don't worry about revising each and every subject in a chronological order. Forget that. Go to the questions first. I think the sooner you do this, even if it's like the second or third week, you'll be ahead of the class. Go to the questions, highlight the key stuff, use the textbook, and then you would have had, at that point, context. Not only context to understand the subject, but an example of what an exam question might look like. You're killing two birds with one stone. Oh, and another thing that you don't want to forget for like essays and exams, please guys, remember this, don't forget the font size. Not only the deadline, sometimes they'll say the deadline is like 12 o'clock, right? Does 12 o'clock count as a late submission? For the most part, yes, it does. 11:59 is the latest that you can submit your exam or whatever your test paper is by. Like, these little details, do not skimp out on knowing these little details because they can save you marks. The font size, the type of font, that is so important. The line spacing, these things. I'm not saying they will make or break your results, but they can make a difference. Make sure you pay attention to that as well and get that down. I like to keep it very simple. When I was doing my exams, I would just write these things at the top. I had a document where I would literally have written out what exactly was required for that specific module or that exam or test within that module, what they needed from what font size, what the word count was, all of that. I would have that all written out, so I had that as a sort of guideline for what I needed to do. Get those details down first and foremost, so then you don't have to think about them later, because that's not where your brain space is going to be. And the last thing you want is that you're stressed because you've only got like 2 hours left and you need to submit this thing, and now you're thinking, oh my god, what was the font? It was back in that email from like 6 months ago. Do you know what I mean? If anything intimidates you, and this is not just a uni advice thing, this is a life advice thing. I have to still take this now, like I struggle with it, but if something intimidates you, deal with it head on. Don't be intimidated, okay? Life is too short, fear happens, but be brave and have courage. And like, again, this goes into so many things in life. Now, I say don't be intimidated. We can feel intimidated, but when I say don't be intimidated, I mean don't just shy away into a corner and just not even surrender, just give up and be like, oh, it's difficult, I can't handle it. It's overwhelming, I can't handle it. There's a lot of this. People do it all the time. I've done this all the time. You know, not all the time, I've done this in the past where something is overwhelming and it's scary and I feel like I can't handle it. And so what do, I don't handle it. You know, and if you give into that feeling of I can't handle it, you won't. You won't. But if you instead say, well, here is a problem, or something I perceive as a problem, and to every problem, there is a relevant and appropriate solution. Even if it's something I can't think of, there is something out there. Even if it won't solve the problem to its entirety, I can dissolve a part of it. If I just ask the right questions, if I ask the right person, if I ask, you know, if I do something, if I take action, something will change. If there's, say, a task that you're really struggling with, an essay, an exam, a specific question, there will be an answer there for you somewhere in all of it. Even if it doesn't make sense right now, take action, deal with it. If you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you. If you make a plan for yourself, stick to it. Stick to it. Many, many successful people will say this. When you don't stick with the commitments that you have made to yourself, well, first of all, they're not really commitments, are they? Second of all, you ruin your relationship with yourself. You break your trust with yourself. I heard Jen Gottlieb, I think that's how you say her name, I don't know, one day I'll learn. Maybe when I meet her in person, she can tell me, not that she should have to, but anyway, she said it. You break your trust with yourself when you don't show up. Tam Kaur, she was saying it. She was saying the other day, I think when I was watching her reel, she was saying you can show up for other people, you write down the things where other people are involved, but the moment it comes to you and the things that you said you would do, you don't show up, right? So if you have created a system which consists of you showing up for yourself, stick to it. Even if it's brutal, it's sucky, it hurts, it means you have to get up an hour earlier or go to bed an hour later, you stick to it. You're a person of integrity now. You stick to it. Stick to the system that will work, not the system that has failed you time and time again. What do we call it when we do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? Insanity. I'm not opposed to failure, not at all. But if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it's creating the same result that you don't like over and over and over again, making you feel awful about yourself, find a system that is tried and tested, even if it's a system that's not authentic to you, and copy that. Copy it. Take it, copy it, and paste it into your life. I have changed my life so much the past year when I tell you, oh my goodness, if someone met me now and met last year version of me, they'd be like, ooh, something's different. You know? And it's come from literally being like, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. This is why I have failed. This is why I'm honestly, in some aspects, very much a failure. It's okay. I own it. It's mine. Right? But once you own the things that are making you be that failure or making you fail so much, you then know, okay, well, clearly I need to not do these things if I want to have a different outcome. And clearly, if that person out there did X, Y, and Z and got to this place, and the same person, and then somebody else did the exact same thing and they got this result, surely there must be some level of correlation here. Or causation. Where if I do X, Y, Z, I too can have a similar outcome. It's not necessarily about the morning routine. I've said this in a video on my Unlimited channel. It's not necessarily about the morning routine, but it could just be the amount of hours that someone's studying a day. It could just be the way that they study. It could just be the environment in which they study in. What are the successful people doing? What are they doing? Do that. You're wondering why you're not successful. Well, what are you doing? And I don't mean it's like, what are you doing with this? No, what are you actually doing? It's like eating takeout every single day for every single meal, eating way too much sugar, being fat and wondering why you're fat. And not moving at all, staying indoors the whole day. And you wonder why you're fat. Okay, sweets, my lovely. Because the people that aren't fat, now obviously not all of them, some people are genetically just, they don't gain weight like that, I don't know, whatever. But rule of thumb, the people that are smaller aren't doing what you're doing. So if your systems aren't working, if your systems are failing you and you don't know where you're going wrong, speak to someone who's getting it right. Speak to someone who has gotten it right. And it's going to hurt, and you're going to be like, well, no, this is what I know to be true. And they're going to be like, well, actually, this is the truth. And you're going to be like, no, because I know. And they're like, oh my God, maybe I don't know. But maybe that's okay. And maybe that's an opportunity for me to learn. And then I can go on that side of things, where I'm not on this side of things and hurting and failing and doubting my whole individual self. Like, let their knowledge be a bridge for you to become a better you. Take what's working and use it. Use it. It's not inauthentic. Like, screw authenticity at this point. If your authenticity is making you feel like poo-poo about yourself and making you feel like you can't achieve anything in your life, what good is it? What good is it? Take the methods and systems that work and do them. Use them. Last point. Yeah. Always underestimate how much time you have. Always. Like I said, I touched on the sick thing. You will likely, especially if you have perfectionistic tendencies, you will likely overrun. And with social things that come up or life things that come up, don't be doing things last minute. If something takes you 2 weeks in your head, IRL, you make it take 4 weeks. Not that you make it take 4 weeks, but you give it 4 weeks. Just in case it needs it. Just in case it needs it. That's an example, that's a metaphor. Apply it to whatever. You might fall sick, something might happen. Don't take your non-tired, healthy hours for granted and put them to use. That's it, guys. That's the video. I know it was a long one, but I really, truly hope that it helped you. Any of you that are going to university soon, any of you that are in university, heck, if you're in your final year, I hope that this helps you. If there's anything particular that you liked or learned, feel free to comment about it down below. If there's anything that I missed, feel free to comment about that. Anything that you wish that you could tell your younger self or other people out there that are struggling or just about to go to university. What do you wish that you had known? What are the mistakes that you guys made? I'd really love to learn and hear what you went through. And you never know, like I said, there are many people out there that are going through what you have gone through or what you are currently going through. So let's help each other out and remind each other that we're not alone. To summarize everything, university, a lot of it is just about reparenting yourself and stepping in and learning how to adult for yourself. And it's about learning how to work with yourself and not be your biggest enemy. Those are skills that you will carry with you all throughout your life should you wish to learn in that environment. You can learn those skills outside of that environment too. But if you are in that environment, these are just some things and ways and hacks in which you can be a better, friend, mentor, partner to yourself. That's it, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I wish you the most success and joy in your journey with university or without university or wherever you are in your life. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for being here. Like I said, already said that, didn't I? Let's do a quick little fit check whilst we're here. So we've got a little gloss situation, which is fading. We've got our shadow. These earrings I think I got from Accessorize back in the day. My acrylics, they're like these little, they're kind of like grey. I actually wanted green done, but the nail store or the nail salon that I went to, they didn't have that there. So I ended up going for this like greyish green. You can't always see the green in it. They're growing out a little bit now, but I just felt like they were kind of fun. And then I've got this top, which is actually my mum's by Nick shit. It's actually a dress. Oh no, it's a top, but when I wear it, sometimes it's a dress. But I've done it like this. Tied it there. Hold on. See my lip gloss over here? Yeah, this is the lip gloss that we're wearing. Hi-Fi Shine. I don't really know where that's from. Oh, Urban Decay. Yeah, the bunda's developing, so that's exciting. Yeah, so that's the look, guys. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, that's it. I wish you the best of luck. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.